Now that's a pretty cool comparison. American Wagyu, grain-fed, 100% grass-fed, and Bison. There's not too many opportunities that you're gonna get to see a chance, or you're gonna have a chance to see all four hanging on the same rail.
Let's take a little trip through bovine history, shall we? So, I want to point out, this is consumer driven. So that's you, have chosen what you want on your plate. And you live in a modern era where you get to make a choice based on, perhaps what your health choices are, what your wallet tells you can do, what your resources are around you. But American bison, the true OG original bovine, is just as closely related to what we have as our European beef as any variety of the European beef. So what I'm saying is the American bison comes from the bovine family. They're not exotic. They're not like deer. They're not like elk. Those are cervids. Those are most closely related to horses. Bison is in the bovine family. So if you lived on this continent 400 years ago, you had one choice. That was American bison, the native beef. So it's going to be leaner, going to be well muscled. Then fast forward a couple hundred years, we had the European beef. Now, European beef not fed a high grain diet. So it's got to have more of a yellow color. This is a Angus beef that's fed only grass its entire life. 100% grass. So say you lived in 1861, that's your choice. Now you live in 1961. It's after World War II. Now they're giving the beef essentially what equates to beef candy. That's corn. Corn has a high sugar content. And so all those sugars and carbohydrates are going to make it get nice and plump, get that nice marbling inside of it. Pretty much same beef, Angus beef, just fed a nice, high, super rich diet. Then we get into American Wagyu. So now we really found that we like to do different stuff with our taste buds. We've taken the Japanese Wagyu breed of cattle, which was a draft breed. They had to store a lot of energy in their muscle, so they did that with the marbling. And so they have a gene that switched on. It packs a lot of intermuscular fat, so they have it for an energy resource. So we've mixed Japanese Wagyu with an American beef, and we have an F1, call it F1 Wagyu, which this is 50% Japanese Wagyu, 50% American beef. We're gonna pull a flank steak from each one of these, put them up against each other, see how tender they are. Flank should be a good measuring stick on just what the fibers are like, what the toughness is like, some flavor too. So let's pull a flank steak, see what they look like.
So I'm gonna start breaking these flanks off to these hindquarters, and then I'm gonna set them over here for Scott. Scott's gonna pull the flanks out of each one, and we'll just get started. So I'm gonna start by removing this rose meat. Just get that pulled off all the way down. Once we get that rose meat off, we're just gonna get just a little bit of that fat off there because it makes it easier to pull the flank section. We're just gonna take our meat hook, start right up here by that H-bone, and we're just gonna go all the way down till we hit that 13th rib, and then just come straight out. And we have American Wagyu flank steak. Scott's gonna start pulling it.
at him. What are you doing?
I was gonna work.
He went off camera and just stood there and stared.
I'm just
Stared at me. I'm not sure if it didn't approve of my.
You weren't speaking, and that's kind of uncommon for you. So
say something.
you weren't talking at all. I was a little worried. I didn't know
was
if you
letting my knife do the talking.
I didn't know. My original plan was to work behind you, but I think it would be better if we just show the audience me pulling each flank off of every hind, because I think you'll enjoy that. So
I don't think you trusted.
I changed my mind.
I don't think you trusted me. Is what I think. What it boiled down to.
No, I approve.
Fantastic
work.
Is that a nice enough looking flank for you,
That's
Seth?
great work.
That's our American.
I'm sure somebody in the comments will disagree, but
they can get some knife action too.
On to the grain fed. Same process. Just get that rose meat off of there. A lot of people ask us what we do with this rose meat. Here in the United States, we put it into ground beef. So I know there's some countries out there that use that to make some specific dishes, but we grind it into ground beef. Just get our meat hook, top of that flank, go all the way down to that, hits that rib, and out. And got another one for Scott to trim.
Are you gonna talk this time?
Sure. What do you want to talk about? How was your weekend?
Oh,
It's actually not very good, was it? Spencer was trying to buy a house nearby and he got beat out of it. But you never know. He's gonna live in a teepee now.
I'll camp in your backyard.
Welcome anytime.
More stats together.
I 10-10 guarantee you Seth would not be doing these flanks the way I'm doing. He's over here. It is weird. Sometimes I watch our footage and I learned a method and it's different than his. It's kind of odd sometimes. But
That's awesome.
I have a story about that. I started out on the deboning table. So a lot of times when I cut, I am cutting in like thinking ahead to what it would be like to be on the trimming and deboning table. So he doesn't think that way because he doesn't have to worry about it once it leaves the cutting table. I think that has a lot to do with it. So sometimes I pull stuff or trim stuff a little bit different because I want to make the work easier on the deboning side, and he doesn't really think along those lines because he never did that portion. But there you go.
On to the grass-fed. Same process. You can see the tint of this one is definitely has that yellow hue to it, making it pretty obvious that this is grass-fed beef. Same process. And there's another.
Hey, I'm going to need you to roll back the film.
Yeah, I put a little hole in it.
He was like,
Wait, what?
when he was pulling it, watch that knife. When he was pulling it, he got awful close and he was like, did a little, would you?
I was gonna
Stuck his little fist in there
I
to
was
make
just
sure
gonna
you
do
couldn't
that
see
to
it.
make it look like you did it in the end process.
Okay, so when we do our videos, I always say that Seth is too uptight, and he always says that I'm too loose and not paying enough attention or not. So
Maybe I just take it a little bit more seriously.
right, he doesn't think that I'm taking it seriously enough, but it's just a personality trait, I think. Oh, see, that's messing me up, Seth.
You're already doing it pretty goofy compared to how I do it. So
I
don't know
told
if
you
it
he
matters.
wouldn't. I told you he wouldn't like my method. We did a short on him pulling a flank, and that's like across all platforms is like what, 60 million views or something?
Yeah, it's probably closer to 70 million now.
So what if on the bison we have Seth pull the last flank so we can see how he does?
I think that's a great idea.
Now it's time for the Great American Bison. Definitely leaner. That richness of that meat. That roast meat off of there. A little bit of fat. And now we're going for that flank. So came to the decision that I'm going to do this one. And really the only difference that there is between what Scott and I do is there he is.
Or should I just stand off camera and glare at you like you were doing?
I pull that membrane all the way off. And then the only other thing that I do that's really a lot different. And keep in mind that the bison is naturally going to be stickier. So what I like to do, he usually makes a cut down here first. And I pull this flank portion and the meat here on the bottom all the way off before I trim it. So
Can we put a timer on this by any chance? I don't know. I've lost the last two time competitions. Maybe we're just choosing the wrong cut of meat.
I get it to that point, and then I trim the fat like that, and then I make my cut. So that's really the only difference. So there you have the bison. Pretty cool comparison. You can definitely see the fat size difference between all four: American Wagyu, grain-fed, grass-fed, and bison.
We got to tell them. See you at the grill.
Are you okay? So we are going to stack these up, and we are going to season them with some delicious Bearded Butcher blend seasoning. We're going to get them on the grill over some hard lump charcoal. We're going to slice them against the grain. We're going to try them out, see how they compare. Let's go to the grill.
Butchering and spices have gone together for centuries, and for over a decade, the Bearded Butchers have sold spices. In fact, spices came out before our media came out. It began with our original blend, then Chipotle, Cajun, Hot, Hollywood, Black, Butter, Brock, Zesty, and Cinnamon Swirl. 10 different flavors that we've expanded to now. They make meat better. We're online at beardedbutchers.com. We're also expanding into over 500 retailers. Some of our bigger stores are Rural King, Cow Ranch, and all your Great Lakes Ace stores. So look for it on the shelf at a retailer near you, or go to beardedbutchers.com and get some of our spice. We're going to do 50% Brock, 50% Black, or as close to it as we can, on 50% of the steaks. 50, 50, 50, 50. But the idea is that we're going to leave some of the steak just with no seasoning on it. So I'm going to be going about half the steak, and then I'll flip it over and do the other side in black. It gives us a little bit of both worlds. I notched these because I don't want 1 notch, 2 notch, 3 notch, 4 notch. Wagyu, grain-fed, grass-fed, bison. So I don't want to forget once I cook them. It's a little harder for these to do the little steak dance. Oh, I'm a little steak. Oh, this is like a tongue lap up the seasonings. we'll do some black on this side. So we have them seasoned and they're sitting here just sort of resting. But I want to say something. Just going to say it because you're going to say it if I don't say it. We didn't marinate them. I know citrus juice is really popular, some sort of acidic marinade. So we're treating these flank steaks just very straightforward because we want the animal to present whatever it has. So whether it's got, you know, fat, tenderness, whatever. And I understand we could marinate them all in the same thing for the same amount of time, but we decided to go straight into it with some of this. And so we got a nice hot grill here. I'm going to cook them to hopefully what we figure is about medium rare, maybe rare. So let's just get started. I'm going to have a little bit of juggling to do just because this grill is going to be pretty full, but we will get them on. Scent of that steak.
Did you explain how you put the notches in them?
I did. All right. We'll be doing some flipping and some rotating. Keep everything cooking evenly, but we're just going to cook them like a medium rare steak.
You always have steak?
Not always.
Is it your favorite food? Yeah. You like when Dad makes steak?
And corn.
And corn.
Whoa. Taking it real easy on these guys because we want to get them just right. I don't have any unknown meetings that I know of to interrupt me today, so should be able to keep a closer eye on them. These are all about 120, and I'm gonna get them down for a quick sear. Coming in hot. There you have it. All four are now cooked. We just gotta spend a little time resting.
Scott asked me why I wasn't in the cooking portion of this video, and I had to be honest with him because this room is full of smoke, and I put a brand new bearded butcher hat on, and I just happened to be going on vacation, and I didn't want my hat smelling like smoke. So sorry, bro. Oh, by the way, a lot of people ask where they can get these. beardedbutchers.com.
You wanna do the honors? I don't know if you'll get
Go for it.
the smell of the meat on you or on your hat.
You know which was which, and you know where you seasoned them, where you started, where you stopped. So go for it. I'll sample.
4 notches in the Bison, 3 in the grass-fed, 2 in the grain-fed, and just 1 in the Wagyu. So I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut them in half, and we're gonna flip it around. That way we can try half seasoned, half not.
Seems pretty tender. And juicy.
There we go. So
That's
cut some nice little slivers for you, Seth.
That's the unseasoned portion on each.
This is the unseasoned. Cut.
You cutting some for yourself too, or just for me?
Well, I figured I would just get them nice and thin so they
I
were
like that.
easy to chew. It is flank steak, so. All right, where are we starting?
We should mention, you can see very clearly which way the grains go in these steaks, and you can see Scott's cutting against the grain. So keep that in mind when you cut flank steak, that you do want to go against the grain.
gonna get some of the seasoned one ready. So why don't we start with the bison and go, I don't care, wherever you want to start.
This is bison?
This is bison plain. I love bison. I think it's the classic sweet meat.
Rich but not gamey,
Yep.
tender, juicy.
These are the grass-fed right here.
Kind of like a rich beef, like not as much flavor as the bison.
No,
Just a
grass-fed has that hint of liver flavor
little bit, and
from the extra mineral and iron content.
you get that even more if it has fat on it. So, just a hint of maybe a little bit of liver.
grain-fed beef.
Juicy.
That's beef. Tastes like beef.
Super juicy.
Juicy, tender. And then we've got the American Wagyu down here.
I expect this to be even juicier.
Oh, yeah. It's got that nice melt in your mouth.
About the same beefiness of flavor in those
Yeah.
two.
Now let's try the seasoned portion of the bison.
Didn't leave me a very big piece. I gotta cut it a little bit larger slice.
I was just trying to cut them thin. Flank steak, as we know, has pretty strong fibers
Spencer?
in it. So
Oh, that's for me.
That's for
Thank you.
Bearded Butcher blend makes everything better. Gives you that nice, well-rounded salt, pepper, garlic powder, paprika, a few other things. Nice clean spice.
One left to try. The seasoned American Wagyu. All very delicious. You slice these up, make some tacos, you can make fajitas. You name it. Or you can just eat them like this. Put them on a salad, make a steak salad.
It's interesting. They each have a little something different. Generally, I like bison, and if we're doing something special, American Wagyu. All of it has been absolutely wonderful. Look how juicy those things stayed. I grilled them, no marinating, just some seasoning on them, but yeah, they stayed super juicy. Again, it's flank steak. We didn't marinate it for any added tenderness. We just grilled them, get that real flavor, cut them thin so we could try them.
Good job.
Fun little comparison.
Good job grilling, and Scott mentioned comparison. This is a pretty cool opportunity to see all four of these hanging in the cooler at the same time. We brought them out onto the floor. We pulled these flanks. You got to see us take the flanks off of the hindquarters, and you got to see Scott grill them. Now we're tasting them. So an opportunity that we don't get a whole, not too often to have all of these in the cooler at the same time, and we want to make sure that we did something with that opportunity.
Got our audience.
Get in here, Landon.
Been standing over here.
Which one do you want to try first? Bison, grass-fed, grain-fed, or Wagyu?
What'd you think?
Oh, you're going
kids?
for Wagyu. Grab some.
What'd you think, honey?
Good.
Good?
Come in and get some more.
You guys love
Get in here,
steak,
Alyssa.
don't you?
Oh. That's very good.
So there you have it.
Try whatever you want.
We compared basically what boils down to a bunch of different choices that you get to make as the American consumer now, because this stuff is very popular by demand. We've got what we consider the native beef, the bison, 400 years ago. That's all your choices would have been on this continent is bison if you wanted a bovine animal. Then, of course, we had the grass-fed beef, which is how, riding the range and grass-feeding cattle was the standard for a couple hundred years. And then we get into your grain-fed beef, which post-World War II, grain feed lots became popular. And then we have our American Wagyu. So the choice is yours. We hope this helped you make a more informed choice.
And we would also say, if you have an opportunity to do this at home, go to your local, butcher shop, whether it be a supermarket, wherever. Grab a couple different varieties of, whether it be beef or bison or elk or venison or whatever, and grill them up, put them on a table, have your friends sample them. It's pretty cool. It's fun to do. You get to taste all the different tenderness and flavor profile and etc. So fun one right here on the Bearded Butcher's YouTube channel. If you could, give us a subscribe. We just hit 1.5 million subscribers. We thank you all very much for that. We're just over 260 million total channel views, which is absolutely incredible. So over 500,000 subscribers in just under 12 months. And it's all because of you guys. So if you can do that for us, and then until next time, see ya.